Look, I opened this jar of rotten baby food, and well, a butterfly came out.
You're selling my
Say it.
data?
No, I'm selling your data.
Okay.
Is that a joke? I hope.
No.
No, I'm selling
What?
you. What data do you have?
I don't know if you've been taking data from this and you're going to be able to sell it.
Welcome to the Comedians in Elevators podcast. I've got my guest, Felix Milionis, Millions with an I. Felix, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll get started from there.
Yes. Hello. My name is Felix Milionis, and I'm a filmmaker based out of San Francisco. I was born and raised here. I'm currently working on a project called Sideshow Surrealism. So if you like
Mm,
cars doing donuts, fireworks, and you also like the Victorian era, these two meet in this project and become a Victorian era car sideshow. So it's horses and carriages doing donuts and clowns. I'm gonna leave
clowns.
it
So
simple.
is
Yeah.
that like steampunk?
Uh, Not intentionally steampunk. There's a bit of that sprinkled in there, but there's a tad of steampunk. Yes, it's a little more like Mad Maxy, which I would argue is steampunk as well.
Huh.
But yes, yeah.
Yeah, Mad Max definitely has a steampunk quality, for sure. Okay, so wow. I mean, I'm imagining multiple different things. So the clowns, I gotta ask. Well, how does that work exactly?
The clowns kind of operate the vehicles. Um,
Okay, so they're like
so
NPCs.
yeah, in a sense, there's these acts we've staged kind of within the sideshow. And so there are these big performances. So one of them is going to be the horse and carriage, and it'll be operated by clowns. And one of
Oh,
them is a
okay.
hibachi restaurant set up in a box truck. So people will be eating
Ah,
food while the truck is doing donuts. Um, and
huh.
it'll all take place in this massive sideshow. And that it'll actually be happening too. We'll be throwing the real thing. So
I'm getting an idea. Is this so? How long is it? Is it a like feature length or how long is it?
so it's expected to be a feature, but stylistically, we're doing this kind of like planned guerrilla style filmmaking where we throw
Sure.
this massive event and then just chuck the cinematographers within. And so kind of whatever is birthed
Oh.
from that is what the project becomes. And that's
Nice, nice. That's
yeah.
good. I love it. From the ground up, you create. That's great. So I'm anticipating you're going to have different aspect ratios, or the actual editing will
Yeah.
be later. Awesome. All right.
So
Well, you
far,
ready to get started? Listen, to my regular listeners, I know you don't like when at the beginning of these conversations I ask you to subscribe. None of us like it. I don't like saying it. I don't like it being in here. But it's frustrating. You know what else is frustrating? It's also frustrating when I look in the back end of the YouTube channel and I see that 56% of you that watch frequently haven't yet subscribed. And I know this because I see it in the comment section. You say things like, I didn't know I didn't subscribe. And that's actually what fuels the show. Basically, it's like you're making a donation to the show. So that's why I ask all the time, because it enables us to build and build and build. And we're going for the long term here. Hit the subscribe button and we'll continue to build this show for you. That's my promise. Thank you to all you guys that do subscribe. It means the world to me.
yes, absolutely.
All right. So the main idea of the podcast is to compare and contrast the comic versus the comedian. So
Okay.
I define the comic as any person telling funny jokes versus the comedian who's a funny person telling any jokes. Would you agree that you start as a comic and evolve into a comedian, Felix?
Uh, I guess so. I mean, are we talking about this in the sense of like a celebrity? Like is a comic a person we define as someone that's like funny in movies and a comedian is someone that gets up on stage and tells jokes? Or like is this just an everyday person, a civilian that's kind of funny and they
So
evolve?
that's you. So you're right on both accounts. So where it came from is that doing stand-up comedy myself, I come across the idea of this comic versus comedian from professionals that start dissecting these words more, and this is basically the filtered down version of it. And most people have never even heard of this differentiation until they
I
do, and then
I
you
did
can't
not
get
till your
away.
podcast, so
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with the first question. So it's about the role of persona in comedy. How much of the comedian's voice is a character versus their real self?
I would say almost 110% is probably a persona because
Uh,
anyone in front of a crowd or in front of a camera to a certain degree puts on a persona whether or not they would know it. I think code switching is very real.
mm,
Um, but I'd say that that's more legitimate. But when there's a public eye, or when there's a camera, which is essentially just a public eye, you put on a bit of a shtick, and I think anyone, whether they're doing it intentionally or not, has a shtick. So yeah,
So is almost 110% code switching?
yeah. I I
That's an
guess my
example
argument
of it.
becomes kind of redundant there, but yes, yeah, yeah.
Just throwing it. Okay, so does authenticity matter, or is illusion part of the magic?
I mean, as a filmmaker, I think this is gonna sound cliche and kind of lame, but life is an illusion. So,
Well,
yes, I think it's all illusion. So I think it matters and it doesn't matter. But yeah, I would say it absolutely yes.
I
It's
don't
all in
think
a
it's cliche at all. I mean, literally, we're telling why do we make movies and watch movies all day long? People are watching stories for a reason,
yes,
right?
absolutely. And
Okay.
I think yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. Exactly. Well, let's go with the next one. So, punching up versus punching down. Where
okay,
do comics versus comedians stand on this? So, let me put it in some historical context.
okay.
Did a jealous medieval prince become the first comedian by killing the court jester?
Complicated question. Holy moly. Punching up and punching down is in terms of like, is it an ethical punch up and an ethical punch down? Like killing someone is an ethical punch down? Like, is that what
Well,
you're asking?
sure. That's a good point. Uh, let's put it in some other context. Like we
Yes.
see punching down, like for example, Dave Chappelle, he gets criticized for punching down, right?
Okay.
If you're familiar with his controversy, which clearly
Okay.
he intended, right?
Yeah.
That's an example of punching down. Would you agree?
Yes. Yeah, I would
Okay.
absolutely. I
So
mean,
you can put it in that context. I'm just adding a kind of historical milieu,
well,
which may not actually exist, to add a little controversy in a larger scale. So is the audience's agreement with the comedian a form of permission or alignment?
I'd say definitely a form of permission, but a permission to punch up and punch down. I think they have free reign over it all. But a big problem I've noticed that ruins comedy is everyone's special just happens to be about why they should be allowed to punch up or punch down when no one just tells straight comedy anymore. It's all an argument against culture that doesn't stand for like free comedy and expression to say whatever you want, you know?
But isn't that exactly what they're doing at that moment?
Yeah, in a sense, but it's said so much that it's like when I watch a special on Netflix, a comedian's doing 90% of it tends to be just them complaining that they're not allowed to say what they want to say, and it just becomes like so
I
just
see.
it kills the
But
fun.
aren't they actually saying the thing that they want to say, even though they're putting it in that context?
Absolutely, and it's not my position as a viewer to tell them what to say or not, but it just eats up time that they could be telling more
Ah,
jokes and just
I see.
preference.
I
So
see.
yeah,
Well, I would definitely put that in the comedian category because it's more about the funny the character themselves, which is what comes out when they give their opinion, I guess. But that's why I'm asking you. So you're basically seeing you want to see more of the comic is what I'm understanding. You want to see more jokes. Keep going. Do you have a favorite comic or comedian that you like watching on next Netflix specials or one that stood out to you?
Um, I guess I liked. I mean, obviously, I think everyone likes Dave Chappelle or select groups like Dave Chappelle.
No,
But
not everybody likes Dave Chappelle.
I liked
Can tell
Louis
you.
C.K. a lot.
Okay.
Um,
But
I guess
why?
probably my main two. Yeah, that stand out the most for sure. Yeah, and
Okay.
I
But
like Chris Rock too. But
Chris Rock. Okay. Okay.
yeah. Mhm.
But do you know why you like them? Because
Um,
they both really are on basically doing what you said you don't want to hear them do. I
no,
recall them definitely.
they are, and that's definitely a problem I'm starting to have with them now. But I'm not gonna like look the other way on their history of comedy just because now they're doing that one thing I don't like. Like I'm open.
I see where you're coming from. A lot of people agree that lately comedians are not transforming. They're kind of still they're staying stuck in this kind of
Yeah,
they're
I should
not.
have been more clear. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
probably
absolutely.
where
No,
most
I
of
mean
them
that's
like
why I'm doing the interviews. I hear a lot of different perspectives, and that seems to be a common theme is that comedians, professional ones that you know their names and you see them regularly for years, they're not evolving beyond this point, which is the highest point, right? Arguably, they're at the peak of their career of anybody, but they haven't gone to this next level. And this is exactly the thing that you want to see. What do you go? Where do you go from there, right? Do you have an idea of where to go from there?
Uh, I guess. I mean, I would argue just I like pure abstractions, so jokes
Okay.
that aren't at all kind of founded in reality. A lot of comedians end up getting too serious and tell these like personable stories,
Right.
and I don't need your like life advice. I mean, I'm not opposed to that, but I guess yeah, I want comedy. I want
Yeah.
if you give me life advice, I want it to not make any sense. I want it to be a little more absurd, and I think we need
Okay.
to switch
Like
that
how
back.
to survive on Mars.
Yes, exactly. We need some more of that. But I want it. You can tell me that seriously, and that's
Right.
if that's your shtick, that's even funnier. If you're just
Right.
dead,
No, that's
I live on the
100%. I mean, that's the formula for sure is you don't want it to be too real. You want it to come from an authentic place on the inside, but
yes,
on the outside, it's got to be how to survive on Mars like everybody else in this room,
yeah,
right?
yes, absolutely, yeah.
Speaking of, so cultural translation of comedy, how do jokes that work in one country or planet bomb in another?
Um, Holy moly! I mean, there's so many elements that probably contribute to that. I mean, I think we just evolve so differently that uh you're gonna find things funny based on your experiences, and if you live somewhere else, you're just not gonna have experienced everyone else's jokes. I mean, a lot of comedians reference pop culture, and that just varies so much country to country that people are gonna get a little lost when they make Michael Jackson. I guess everyone knows Michael Jackson, but make very niche references to celebrities in certain countries that other people don't have.
How well do you know Michael Jackson? You weren't around when he was creating new music, were you?
Uh, well, he died in 2009, so I think I was around then, but no, I don't know peak Michael Jackson, so I
Beady, beady,
not
beady.
like everyone
I'm
else.
just, I'm just throwing it out there, right? Because now we got, there's really only one, I think one generation. We're all compressing into this one, like we'll all live 150 years, or at least we will. We'll see. So
Yeah.
are comics more universal while comedians are more culturally specific?
Ooh, I mean, that's a hard question for me to answer because I still don't feel like I have a solid definition on the difference between the two of them. I would say they're both actors, but I guess yes is my answer.
So, well, let's touch back on that. So, I agree with how you started answering, interpreting the difference. I would say that when you are talking about just telling jokes, that's a comic. That's how I interpret it, right? They may not have much of going on the inside. So when all these comedians that we know they're telling their life stories and you see them there, you know their names and you see them on Netflix specials, I would argue they have evolved from the comic into the comedian. And it almost sounds like you're asking them to go back to being a comic and just tell jokes. But that's not really the comic because you won't forget who that comedian was, but you're almost asking him to. It sounds like reincarnation. You come back to down to earth and you forget that you're an eternal spirit. Would you agree?
Okay. Okay, yeah. Well, in that context, you're basically just saying that once you reach a certain status as celebrity, then you're granted the privilege to be able to kind of be a little bit more personable and grow on beyond just telling jokes and influence in a sense. Like, is that the and that defines you as a comedian or like a
That's kind of so I am working with that definition that others like professionals that are following the evolution of funny people and they have defined it like that. So I'm looking at it through their lens
okay,
because there's a lot of people in the industry that see it that way. And so I'm trying to see it through their lens and I can. There is a consistency to that. So that's where I'm coming from with the question. So let's go to the next one. So crowd work versus crafted work. If
okay.
comics riff like influencers and comedians perform like in reaction videos, where's the sweet spot?
It's such a complicated
It's
question.
supposed to be complicated, otherwise it wouldn't be interesting.
You're twisting my
What a
brain up a little bit here,
stupid
but I would say
question.
that didn't we just categorize comedians as influencers?
Well,
I
so
would
I don't know. I don't know. I would say that they're this is leaning more towards the online, like kind of short form, super short form. That's where the question is. So you could also say that crowd work is like when well, you're doing crowd
Well,
work, and then crafted work is that you're not doing so much crowd work. So comedians, like on
okay.
a Netflix special, unless they explicitly have crowd work worked into their performance, they ain't doing it,
Well,
right?
there's an interesting topic there in itself because crowd work on a digital platform is so much more complicated. Like you're not getting any direct feedback. You're
So how do you do it? I can't
you're
imagine
getting
the only one.
comments later or you're getting likes later.
Mhm.
So I don't even know how you
That's
engage with that. It's like past tense. You're judging it off statistics you see from your previous videos and that like
and So that's actually I should say I should ask the question like that because that's actually what I'm intending when I talk about influencers that are riffing is that
yeah.
that's actually the cycle that they're going through and that so yeah, that's exactly the context that I'm putting it in. So you figured it out. You figured out the question better than me. So yeah, so is there a sweet spot in that world?
I mean, I would say ultimately to any creator, why would you like manipulate your content based on your viewers? Like never lead. I would say as a filmmaker, especially, never lead with the viewer as the intent. Like you tell the viewer what they want to see, and that's your content. Just make whatever. But I would say that it definitely changes. Like if you're on stage and you're performing, you're gonna immediately get a response and alter to that. And that's just like a natural human response. Like you're
Sure.
gonna whereas it definitely alters your comedy if you're waiting and you got to see what people like in the comment section and then you're going to have time to ponder on that and then really like everything's going to become incredibly fabricated at a certain point. So
Well, that is crowd work, right? So I guess that is the digital crowd work is the
real
comment
crowd work. Yeah.
section.
Really
Okay.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. That's where I'm going to go with on that. So it's really about the comment
But
section. So
also
let
there's
me uh-huh.
sorry, I don't
Please,
I
yeah. This is a work in progress.
because it's also like based on how you perform is like your monetary gain. There's such a I guess the crowd work, like you've already made your money, like when you're in person, that people have paid to get tickets to go see your show. Whereas online, everything you say and your interaction is like you're making the money secondhand based on viewership. So there's this like new level of tension between that. I had a better argument there, but
No,
yeah,
that's definitely well. You set up the premise pretty well.
yeah,
So I just added your component to the question, which is really where I'm trying to get to with that particular question. But let's make it more in person. So what happens when a comic leans too much into crowd work, or when a comedian gets heckled? That's more in person, but I guess it could be in virtual too.
oh, absolutely. I think that becomes problematic because you lose like the sense of absurdity. Like you're putting people in your reality. You're gonna fuck with their head. Can I swear?
Hmm. Yeah.
You're gonna toy with their head, and the
Uh-huh.
moment you engage the crowd too much, you almost let them dominate your show in a
Of
sense. Unless you're truly
Absolutely.
skillful, and I think you can really manipulate a crowd. Most people can't do that, and I think you just give them too much power, and you lose putting them in your world, and you go into their world, and they take you a little less seriously.
Well,
And that
you
goes,
have a good point. Now you do have the microphone, you're holding it, they don't. So you do have to repeat what they say for the most part for everyone else to hear. So
yeah,
you do have control over it, but you can lose control very easily if you don't know what to say.
yeah,
I've seen actually very recent, I don't remember his name, but he used crowd work really well and he took control because he mimicked one of the guests, one of the people in the crowd's hairstyle with the rag he cleans his face with, and it matched. It was
hmm.
bizarre. It was excellent, and it was a callback that he could keep going to. So he took control in a very particular way. So there are techniques you can do. It's off the cuff
It,
because it couldn't have been planned.
it's tricky too because I'll see a lot of comedians use crowd work when they bomb or they use it. They don't. Their jokes aren't working, so then they like default to now we got to like engage the crowd because they're not paying attention directly to my comedy, and then that tends to just at least in my eyes it looks like your content isn't working. You're having a default to start like poking at people in the crowd to make laughs happen and just
Well,
like
I agree with you 100%. But
yeah.
that works, that means you have good crowd work.
True. I mean, everyone needs a backup option for when your jokes aren't working. I think that's great if you
You
can pull it
got
off.
that right. And I
Yeah.
see, and that's actually that's the best case scenario is you're bombing on your material. So you default to crowd work that works. Not bad. Not
But
bad. I
there's
mean,
also,
uh-huh.
I don't know if anyone's ever done this, but there's something to just being honest and being like, hey, this isn't working, and just walking off stage, you know? I've never
Yeah.
seen that happen, but just brutal honesty and then just like cut off could be
But that's
interesting.
not funny.
It could be executed in a funny manner. I'm trying to think, but
Well, it is absurd. It is absurd. I
dog, yeah.
mean, it is absurd. So, you can use it, but it's not reproducible. Like people, especially
No,
if you're getting scheduled for gigs and you walk off at the beginning. That
you don't
was
want to be
a
the guy
that
that just fucks off. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or the guy.
maybe you do. I don't know. All right. So, advertising and self promotion. Who advertises themselves more, the comic, the comedian, or the magician? You know that place where you're not conscious and you're not sleeping either? That's your power bill to the electric company. Right here. I want us to be here with free energy, where the Wardenclyffe Tower meets the Eiffel Tower. But that's not where we are. We are here where you've got the utility and you've got residential solar. Between these two, we know which one saves you money. This is where we can go in the meantime. But this is where I want us to be now, and this can be done now. So let me deputize you to represent DOSE, Department of Solar Efficiency, and let's get on the podcast and get the message out today. See you soon.
Dear Lord. Um,
You didn't look at the questions before it.
no. Well, I kind of like that you're freestyling this, but
Absolutely.
I think I don't. I mean, I don't think there's a spectrum there. I mean, if we're looking at comic in the sense of influencer, then like everything you're doing is advertising because you're working on the internet. But if you're a comedian, I think your name travels through word of mouth, and people go and see you and they like you, and then they tell their friend, and that spreads. And I think there's a lot more put into that. Um, and I think that also goes hand in hand with magicians as well. But everything is marketing nowadays, and you just have so many tools to do marketing yourself that I think everyone's on an equal playing field with that. And obviously, like being a any entertainer, it's 90% marketing. Like you can be the best entertainer, and if you can't sell yourself, no one's gonna come see you. So I would say it's an equal playing field, but definitely the comic has to or just naturally advertises more because I guess the foundation of all their work is done on social media, and that just is advertising itself. So yeah,
Yeah. So is self promotion seen as selling out or is it necessary for survival?
absolutely necessary, and it's not at all selling out or narcissistic or anything. You have to sell yourself, and that's not just to comedians at all, but yeah, any
All
sort
right.
of entertainer. Yeah.
So censorship and offense. Does a comic avoid offense while a comedian courts it to prove a point, like a magician?
Ooh, I mean that just varies so much person to person. This is always gonna tie back to social media if we're defining it as this, but like you have a lot more balls to say it's different actually. I was gonna originally say it's easier to say stuff to a crowd knowing that it's not gonna immediately be blasted all over the internet as opposed to a comic when they say more risky things. I guess the fear of cancellation is immediate because anyone can post online and just be like, "Hey, this is awful." But I don't think anything should be censored. But I would argue against my point there that it's actually probably a little bit more difficult to say crass things or disturbing things directly to a crowd just because it's kind of intense to see those reactions immediately. I don't know if I've answered your question here, but
Well, are you saying that the comic does more virtual?
I think that's yes. Yeah.
Okay, sure. I would agree. I mean, I think it's a good place to start is if you can hit a home run, hit home runs consistently online, which means you have jokes, right? Unless you're doing this comment section crowd work that we're alluding to. I think
Yeah.
that's the way to go. So, who survives better in a cancel culture environment, the comic, comedian, or magician?
Comic. Because I
Oh,
guess if you're saying crass shit, like you're gonna go farther. You're gonna get immediately spread, and I think, uh,
cancel culture isn't.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
would
if you're
argue
saying,
that I would
Okay.
argue that like most cancel culture doesn't cancel you, it just puts you into a different niche. Like
Huh.
if you're saying anti transgender things or anti whatever, then you get sorted into more like kind of Republican niche and all that, or you get tossed somewhere
I
else.
see.
I don't think you actually get canceled. You just get resorted, and
So,
you get more eyes on you through that new
uh,
audience you're gaining. So I don't think it's a
you
true
go on a
cancel.
different timeline in the multiverse.
Yeah, essentially that. Yeah.
All right. All
Yeah.
right. So, speaking of timing and delivery, is it a science or an art? So, do comics rely more on structure and comedians more on rhythm and emotion?
Science, absolutely. It's biological. You can't, I mean, it's if you don't naturally just have it and have a read on human nature and can predict how other people are feeling, you're not going to be able to do a good back and forth. And I think people that script it a little too much, it becomes obvious because they don't have it. So I think it's extremely scientific. It's biological. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. Fair enough. So, laughter versus applause. Are comics chasing laughs and comedians chasing applause breaks that validate the message?
Um, these are all going to fall back on the same thing, but it's applauses and laughter are so different on the internet versus when you're in person. I think you're in person, you're going to be chasing laughter, I guess. That's probably where your biggest hit comes from is a laugh.
Hmm.
But online, I would say a like is an applause, so you're chasing that. So probably the comic wants more applause. The comedian wants that hit of laughter right in their face, you know?
Interesting. Is
Yeah.
there, that's a very interesting original point. Is there a virtual laugh? Would that be an emoji, perhaps?
I guess
Yeah,
you get,
maybe.
I'd say a virtual laugh is when someone takes it and they want to share your content with someone else. Because then you know they
Okay.
laughed and you know that they want to make their friend laugh with it. But when they just like it and it stays to themselves, it's like a, but it's not like you didn't get that proper laugh, you know, you just got like a little applause.
Okay, so you're saying sharing is analogous to laughter?
Yeah, I guess that's the whole point of comedy is that you're sharing, or that's the whole point of comedians is that you're getting up front of a crowd and
Right,
you're
right.
sharing
I mean,
your
sharing
comedy.
on the,
I'd say
okay.
it's a lot of that is founded in sharing, yeah, and making other people laugh. So yeah, well, I think it also is interesting because the internet makes everyone a comedian indirectly because they want to share what they find funny with other people and try to make them laugh.
I really do like your perspective on this. This is very, this is definitely good because you found something that I was alluding to that no one has yet captured, and you're capturing it very well, which I like. This is good.
Nice.
So, comedy as commentary. Does a When does a comedian cross into being a philosopher or a preacher?
Ooh, I'd say pretty immediately. I mean, I think, fuck, this is a tricky one.
Can
I
you
mean,
do you know? Can you have, name a comedian that does this?
well, I would say you could argue that Dave Chappelle does this because he'll just sit there and blab about life and get philosophical. But I think that philosophy can be comedy. I don't think it has to just be like directly getting serious and talking about like real topics. I think you can make jokes that mean something and they're not just as like direct as that, you know, and that still
Hmm.
becomes philosophy. A lot of philosophy is completely absurd and almost feels like comedy because it doesn't quite make sense.
Mm.
They're founded in the same absurdity. Um, and I actually feel like they're the same thing. They're just like an odd interpretation of it, it's people that choose to interpret the world in an odd sense, and that's how they digest it. And I think it's yeah, it's the same.
I'm going to throw out a tricky one here. There's synthetic and analytic philosophers, right? Synthetic are the ones that came up with things that make no sense, and someone else has to read it and interpret it. So,
Yeah.
would you say,
Okay, then
ooh, here's the argument one here. Could you see that the it's actually an inversion that the comedian is the synthetic philosopher and the comic is the analytic philosopher?
other way around.
Ah, okay. How
Yeah.
so? How so?
Well, I think we've defined comedian as you're on stage and you're going to a big crowd. I think that's just so much more natural. And however much you like plan your content, it's still left to be a little loose because there's just unpredictable factors that um will arise. And I think Um,
No, this is good. Definitely.
yeah,
You're coming up with some interesting stuff.
there's
So,
something there.
absolutely. So, comedy and vulnerability.
Oh
I would
yeah.
argue that comics hide behind their jokes and comedians expose themselves. If you agree, which one is braver?
Uh, ooh, ooh, okay. Now I stumbled there, so now I'm
Do you
stumbling.
agree, though? Do you think that comics hide behind their jokes?
Not inherently, no. I feel like
Okay.
uh once again this definition is funky here. I can't tell what you're doing. You're definitely up to something here.
I'm trying not to flip them around, but sometimes, yeah,
I just
I'm not flipping them, but you could see that way. Um,
I mean the definition of comic doesn't make too much sense to me, but I think a lot of individuals hide behind their jokes for sure.
okay.
Um, I think uh self-loathing humor is so popular and being in vulnerability is so popular now, and it's the easiest format to just tease yourself because it's just directly
Hmm.
relatable to everyone else, and it'll always be funny, just human nature and mistakes and all that. So I think no, I think everyone everyone is vulnerable when it comes to just getting on a mic and making jokes.
So, would you consider identifying yourself as a victim or being in victim culture as um, exposing yourself or being vulnerable?
To some degree, I mean, it kind of bugs me when comedy becomes that because that's like spinning it. A lot of people, that's when we fall back again on people just getting way too serious on the mic. And
Hmm.
if
Right.
something happened to you and you're just up there blabbing about it, I mean, I know we got 10 minutes left, but that does not have a comedic appeal unless you can spin it in a funny way. But yeah, I would say that's absolutely being vulnerable. Yeah,
All right. So
yeah.
we've got a tradition on the Comedians and Elevators podcast. So the previous guest, Tim Mosley, had this question for you.
But,
What would it take for you to start doing comedy? And if you already do you have any limits?
okay, did you tell Tim about me directly, or Tim? It's
No,
just
he
a
doesn't know you
oh, he's
exist.
no
This
idea.
is it's
All
no
right,
idea.
Tim. Okay. Am I talking to Tim right now?
Hopefully.
Um, Comedy in the sense of getting on stage and planning a joke in front of an audience, I would absolutely do that. It sounds like a blast.
But what would
Uh,
it take for you to start doing it? You haven't done it yet, right?
no, I have not done it yet. I think there were moments where I considered doing something like that, but every time I've gotten up in front of a crowd and written jokes into a speech, it never lands like I'm assuming it's gonna land, and it's a much weirder craft than you assume it to be. And every time
Well, I
it's
already know a key word you just used to describe it is speech. It is not a speech. It's not a monologue.
not at all a monologue. I guess yeah, there we go.
It's a
Um,
dialogue, even though you're the only one speaking.
but I think it would take uh probably just a little bit more life experience that I can pry at to like construct
Okay.
the jokes I would probably want to, because
Okay.
I don't feel like my brain or like my brain is where it needs to be able to get up on stage and laugh.
You want some material. All right. There you go.
Yeah,
Life
yeah,
experience.
yeah.
All right. Last question.
Okay,
Legacy. Who gets remembered? Will the comics Tight Five survive time, or will the comedian's cultural point of view be more timeless?
I would say the comic there. I would say
Okay.
on a smaller scale, if you can more directly make an impact, that's going to be a longer lasting impact. To where if it's like a more grand audience, um, culturally things are going to change every day, and your arguments aren't going to stand the test of time. Like they're not going to be that radical to where we're blown away. And like all of society changes because of that. But I think if you're a local comic and you're just in small clubs and you've like directly made a lot of people in your community laugh, and they know you as like the guy from their hood, they're gonna remember you, and you're gonna make more of an impact. Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair
Mhm.
enough. Well, Felix, where can everybody find you online?
um I guess you can find my website Felix Millions, or just look up Sideshow Surrealism if you want to learn more about the Sideshow movie. Am I allowed to ask you a question real quick?
I guess you are. Absolutely.
I have 10 million questions.
Oh, okay. Well, we only have 10 million microseconds, so go ahead.
Why did you select filmmakers to answer this question? Or like why filmmakers directly?
Well, because you're in the entertainment industry.
And we just have a different angle and that's why you're appealed?
Absolutely. This is a larger project. There's a new economy here, and I am creating a very large community and a business out of this. And
Are you
so
selling my
everyone,
data?
what's that?
You're selling my
Say it?
data?
No, I'm selling your data.
Okay.
Is that a joke? I hope.
No.
No, I'm selling you. What data do you have?
I don't know if you've been taking data from this and you're going to be able to sell it.
I don't know who would
My
buy it,
God,
honestly, but that would be awesome
this
if
is
someone.
important information right here.
It is. It is. There you go. We got the character.
Yeah.
Well, Felix. Uh huh.
No. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, Felix, thank you so much. And for everybody else, please like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.
Do the same thing. All right. Thank you.